Hello, everyone. I'm Meredith Porte, and with the Brahma Kumari's meditation site, with conversations with friends over the last few years, we have been getting more and more wonderful friends in our life, because as a result of this program and the people who have said yes to coming on the program. The main thing about conversations with friends is that we're really in search of people that are making a difference in this community and that are moving forward with just something to contribute, to make our community better. And I'm amazed that there's a lot of that out there today. More people and more are becoming aware of the need, for being part of doing something good in the world. So now we move on to the most important part of the program, is our guest. And I want to welcome him. His name is Michel Hausmann. He is the founding artistic director of Miami New Drama Works. If you haven't heard of it yet, I'm sure that you will, because this theater organization, located right in the heart of Miami Beach at the Colony Theater, this theater is, and his whole theater organization is really geared toward just inspiring people to see the world differently and to really look at how things can change and to think differently about their lives. So I want to just say a few things that'll impress you. And I have to read them because there's quite a few, but I'm just going to briefly go into it. Michel Hausmann, artistic director, as I said, Miami New Drama, but he is the recipient of the Drama League Award for conceiving and directing Seven Deadly Sins, which was the biggest live professional theater production in the country during the pandemic. And that was written by the New York Times. And I'm getting this off of his playbill. It's also the largest bilingual theater company in the country. And under his leadership, Miami New Drama has produced world premiere plays that are diverse, they're multilingual, and they're really about building community. And some of these plays have been amazing plays. I've been to quite a few of them. Not all, but as many as I can get to. A Wonderful World, Papa Quattro, The Cuban Vote, and Michel is the book writer and director of the Golem of Havana, which was a critically acclaimed musical drama. And he does have a play that's actually, I don't know if it's on Broadway yet, it's on its way to Broadway. So welcome, Michel. I am delighted to have you here on the program.
Much. It's a pleasure to be
here. Thank you. And I mean, what's come to me when I have seen, your theater over the last couple of years is just that you want people to think differently. It's like what you see, what you read in the papers, or what you know about the world. This is just a different way of looking at, especially at the local stories in Miami, right?
Well, I think we believe that theater has a role in society, that, we shouldn't, not only do I believe that we should have a seat at the table, but that we should help lead the conversation. I think that we have been accustomed, really not just locally, but nationally, to a theater that has been tamed, that has been taking the radical aspects out of it and just made it, a lobotomized version of theater. And then you'll see regional theaters around the country producing whatever was popular in New York, and also losing the connection to its community. I think that what theater has in its favor is the immediacy that it has with the audience. And there are regional theaters around the country that forget the word regional in them. We take it very seriously. We think that we should always be in conversation with our community, and especially a community like South Florida that is so diverse, so multicultural, that if you don't, what has been happening, not only in other theater companies, but other cultural institutions, is that because we're so fragmented, you find theater companies that sort of just cater to the white Anglo audience, and theater companies that just cater to Spanish-speaking audiences. and we sort of all go in silos, right? And I think that the mission is to create a big tent for us to be together and to see each other's stories. I think that Miami, it's a very transient city. 55% of folks living in Miami are foreign-born. 70% of Miami is Hispanic, 20% is either African-American or Afro-Caribbean, and only 10 or 11% are white Anglos. And that 10 or 11% was, in a way, what a lot of the theater companies have been gravitating around. And if you do that, your audience will really be just reduced to that small group of people. And I think that this is a unique community. We are, in a way, the capital of Latin America. We are where the worlds meet. We are, and therefore it's important that the community see itself reflected in its totality in the work of art that is created in the community.
Well, I would say that I had an experience myself when I saw one of your plays, which was it was Papa Cuatro, where I realized it was about Venezuelan incredible musicians that came, and then, you know, what they had to do and how to survive. You know, you just see they were famous musicians, right, in Venezuela. And I thought, you know, the next time maybe I see someone who was carrying the baggage, right, or cleaning bathrooms, that could be somebody amazingly accomplished in another country. And it, you know, not that I feel everybody's important, but I don't think I had that realization until I saw your show. And
you know, it's a universal story, right? As you very well said, those are world-class musicians from Venezuela who had to sort of start again in Miami. But that's the story of so many immigrants who have had to start again. There were doctors in their country, now they're, you know, driving Ubers. There used to be architects, and now, you know, they do other professions, and that is, you know, and I think that's why Papa Cuatro struck a chord, because although it seemed very specific about a group of world-class musicians, their struggles are very universal to the immigrant nature that it's Miami, right?
The other thing that I felt when I have been in the audience is that there are people of, you know, all backgrounds, all colors, all religions, all countries sitting in the audience. And not that I talk to everybody, but you get the sense, you know, when you go or you talk to a few people. There were some people that I saw that I didn't think they were even theater goers that have come to your place because of the some of the social issues that you're dealing with. So I was thinking, how do you choose these plays? I mean, do you look for social? You talk a lot about social engagement. I mean, are you looking for shows to really engage people and to think about what's going on in society?
You know, what many people don't realize is that we develop all those shows. We are sort of like, you know, our own garden. We plant the seeds, we wait the years for it to grow. You know, we commission all these plays. In fact, I have 12 plays at any moment in time. There are 12 plays being developed that we have commissioned. Some of them, you know, by more or less by now, by the spring, I enter our garden and I sort of see which plays are, you know, ready to be harvested, and I sort of pick those plays, and then, but everything we commission, and almost everything we commission, you know, so it's a job that starts years before anyone gets to see the end result on stage. Is, you know, I work with great playwrights, many of them local, many of them, you know, of international stature and fame, who were locals or have a strong connection to Miami or to its, you know, the diverse community, whether it's the Haitian, Cuban, Venezuelan communities.
Are you always in search of the future playwrights? Are they out there right now as we speak? Or, I mean, because a lot of your playwrights are quite famous. You know, we're talking about Nilo Cruz, right? And forgive me, I forget the Squire, yeah, exactly. The director. The writer for Defacing Michael Jackson.
Yeah, Orange Squire. I've been working with Orange for close to 10 years, and when we started working together, he was not as world famous as he is now, let's say. But absolutely, a lot of, we produced work by playwrights in their early 20s, like mid 20s, like Michael Leon, who wrote The Cubans before the pandemic. It was an extraordinary success, that show, and it was great because it was his first professional production. He wrote a great play about the Cuban American experience, and he had never been produced before. And so I have a lot of young playwrights that I've commissioned that has never had professional productions, but I sometimes explain it to folks like, well, it's like I buy stocks that I know are going to grow to be, great. If you look at Wall Street, I'll buy the stocks now while they're cheap because this is going to be an extraordinary company that will grow. Well, in a way, I try to find, it's exciting to me to try to find the playwrights while they're just emerging and create those relationships. And then those relationships last a lifetime. But if I try to go to the playwrights where they're already established, a theater our size, it's very expensive to be able to afford such talent if we don't have a prior relationship.
So you're always, as you say, you're always searching for the next great theater writer.
To see what other playwrights are doing, and then if we like, we commission them.
So can we say that theater, regional theater, or any theater is really alive and well in today's society where people seem to be so hooked on, what's going on?
That's a more complicated question.
YouTube?
Theater is having an existential crisis. I think the pandemic, in a way, forced some issues that the theater had been trying to put under the rug, and has exploded. There is the issue of, there are now greats. Before, theater used to be the place where great ideas happen, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that television has taken a little bit of that space because, the quality of TV writing and production has improved dramatically from Netflix on. And so now you can see extraordinary stories being told on Netflix and the platforms. Most of them are for free. So you got to convince your audience to put on pants and come to the theater. But if the work that is being produced, it sort of has that same storytelling quality of, the fourth wall not being broken, and then I would, then theater does not get to be the exciting and unique experience that it can be, because now you can also see great stories in television. In a way, before TV shows were not of great quality, some of them, right? But now there's a ton of them. So if you as theater makers don't make the effort to lean in what makes theater unique, which is a direct relationship with an audience, that is something that no other medium has. So we have to lean in on it and not only talk to the audience about the issues that it's very specific to them, but actually talk to them, actually look at the audience and talk to the audience. It makes a big difference.
I actually stayed afterward for your last play, or the play that, well, say going on now. I don't know when people will be watching this different, in the future too, but Defacing Michael Jackson. And it did give me more insight and it helped me understand. And I like that, I really felt having the presence of the playwright there, who grew up near Opa-lawka, where the story's about. I mean, just to hear him speak was very eye-opening to me. He's
an extraordinary artist. He's a great friend. We've done more plays with him than any other playwright. This is our 4th world premiere with him. And, hopefully every year we'll have something by Oren.
Well, it sounds like you're developing a relationship with the greats, right? Of course, Nilo Cruz. I actually had the pleasure, the excitement of interviewing him, God, I want to say 15 years ago in Miami on the arts show that I did at WLRN. And it was Anna in the Tropics at the Coconut Grove Playhouse at the
That was
time.
20 years ago.
How many years? 20? Oh my God, now I really date myself here. That
2004,
was
2004, yeah.
Is that what it was? Yeah.
We did the 20th anniversary production of Anna in the Tropics. It actually had premiere in a smaller theater in 2003. It was one of those unique productions that was not a world premiere. But, we love Nilo and we thought it was important. The play has not been produced in 20 years in this community. And it's a play that's been produced around the world. And so it was important to do a proper 20th anniversary production of the piece.
Yeah, and he directed as well. So that even made it more special. How do you feel about this connection between the kinds of plays that you're doing and the messages, that are coming through some of these plays? I'm not saying all of them, but and creating any kind of social change or awareness. Do you think that what are your thoughts about that? And I'm not saying that you alone can do that, but this kind of work can make people think differently,
We were speaking before about how Miami is such a transient city, and how many people are foreign born, how many people are, have moved from the Northeast or escaping the cold, or from Latin America, escaping dictatorships, right? But we are a very transient city. And because we are a transient city, not everybody is aware of our history, right?
Right.
And so it is, in a way, our responsibility, we feel, to try to create a common, cohesive narrative of who we are as a community, because we are a very different community than the rest of the country. And so, stories like Elian, Defacing Michael Jackson, the Cuban vote, Cocaine Cowboys are, in a way, recording our history on stage. And that is also part of our mission. I think that it's, when we did One Night in Miami, for example, many audience members had no idea that Miami was segregated until 1964. That Blacks were not allowed to go into Miami Beach after hours until 1964. And we are not a community like, let's say, Alabama or Mississippi that purposely hides its story. We are just transient. So people are not, the story has not even been written down to a certain degree. I always joke that there's Dr. Marvin Dunn is just one, unfortunately, and he can't do all the work himself. But there is not a sense of a collective history of this community, and that's a shame, because there have been communities like the African American community has been here before pretty much before any Cuban refugees arrived, and so there's a lot of stories that really had yet to be told on a more mainstream level.
Well, you keep finding them. That's what amazes me. I knew bits and pieces of these stories. Actually, as when I was a child, I remember my father, because I grew up on Miami Beach, my father telling me, these water fountains out there, when he came to Miami Beach, he said Jews and Blacks couldn't drink out of the same water fountain. And being Jewish, and I know that you are too as well, right? I was like shocked, a little kid hearing that. I can't say that it upset me terribly, as a kid, but I knew that was wrong. Kind of stuck with me. So which leads me to you and your background, being one that came from another country, Venezuela. So can you give just a little background about what happened to you in Venezuela, and as far as your theater life and what went on with you?
Absolutely. By the way, always a View, never a Jew. That was the advertisement for some developments in the 1930s. That's how that is also part of our history. Absolutely, as you said. Actually, there's still in when you're buying the deeds, when you're buying houses, some of them still have not been updated because of, their house has been, and it still says, Jews are not allowed in this neighborhood, etc. So absolutely, that is also part of our history. Anyways, I'm Venezuela. Was born and raised in Venezuela. I had a theater company in Venezuela as well. A large, I would say, I started relatively young as a theater director in Venezuela. In my early 20s, we started a theater company, and it became very big. We did musicals and revivals and some world premieres. We actually became quite large. We became the largest theater company in Venezuela a few years. But then we got into political trouble, and one thing led to another, and we were tear gassed in one of our performances, and so I knew that the writing was on the wall, and I left Venezuela in 2010. I moved to New York. I did a master's in theater directing at Columbia University, and then after that, I stayed a few years in New York, and I really loved and missed what I had in Venezuela of a theater company that was in conversation with its community. We had done, we did, for example, with Moises Kaufman, Gross Indecency, The Three Tribes of Oscar Wilde. And so, there was a lot of articles in the newspaper reading about gay rights, etc., around the play. It's funny, when we did Fiddler on the Roof, there are so many people from Venezuela that were leaving already. Venezuela was sort of, by now, there are 7 million Venezuelans that has left the country in the last 15 years.
Amazing.
That's an exile of Syrian proportion. Mm-hmm. And so, when we were doing Fiddler on the Roof, and the famous Anatevka scene comes out where everybody's leaving in that song, it resonated with the Venezuelan community, because that's exactly what was happening to them. All their lives, all their parents' lives, they all were in Venezuela. They had a deep connection to their country, their land, and then suddenly they had to leave and not know when they were going to come back. And so it was interesting, really, to see that, again, that very Jewish story being seen in such a universal way by a very, Catholic country.
So you have really, in a sense, then experienced what you are actually presenting in some of these plays, right? I mean, whether you're Cuban or Venezuelan or from anywhere, you could be from anywhere.
Yeah, theater, yes, absolutely.
Do you have a vision for the future? Like, producing great plays, with messages. And I was just wondering if there's anything else that you feel, this is really what I'd like to do next as part of my work.
The future is coming quickly, because we have the city of Miami Beach granted us the first floor of the Collins Park garage, which is 17,000 square feet. And through the GEO bond that the voters of Miami Beach voted in favor of, was funded. So we are now, the city of Miami Beach is investing $15 million in Miami New Dramas infrastructure, half of it to revamp the Colony Theater, and half of it to create our new campus that will have our offices, gallery space, a restaurant, a 200-seat black box, and our rehearsal space. So the next few years is all going to be about getting Collins Park on its feet. And then, we'll see where we go.
So your vision is already, it's already happening, isn't it? It's already becoming fulfilled. To me, what I see, what you're saying is just bigger and bigger.
Well, the community is there to support us, and that's what makes all the difference in the world. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, it's just a pleasure getting to interview you. I had so many questions, but we know how busy you are. We were just very happy to get you in the middle of the next play and getting ready for this and that and all that you're doing. But wish you continued success.
And your larger viewers not only come if they have time to Defacing Michael Jackson, that closes on April 2nd. But our show right after that starts performances in very early May. It's an extraordinary play directed by Liliana Blaine Cruz, who was nominated for a Tony last year. She won the Obie Award, the Drama Desk Award. She's an extraordinary, I think she's one of the best directors, now working professionally. She is from Miami and has had an extraordinary career, on Broadway and elsewhere. And she's adapting a book by Edwidge Danticat. Edwidge is, I think, the queen of Miami. She's
amazing.
National Book Award winner. And so she wrote a book called Create Dangerously about being an immigrant artist. And it also tells, stories about Haiti. And this play, Create Dangerously, based on her book, it's a great celebration of the Haitian Miamian experience. And I hope people don't miss it. I think it's one of the most important plays we've ever done. And I think it might be one of the best works we've ever done. So I encourage your students and your larger viewers to come and see it.
Well, I congratulate you, multi-congratulations for all of the good work that you're doing. Like you say, local stories, having an identity in South Florida, people having an identity and not feeling like they're just from this country or that country. That's good, but to feel part of something, I mean, I think that's the main thing, is that we're all connected.
And it really hits home we do a lot of work with students. We bring students to the Colony Theater. Sometimes we even have to fight with the school system in order to bring them. But we also create a tour. The tours, we do a specific play that tours in over 30 public schools every year. And so we, for us, it's so important that's my son, who has an ear infection, couldn't go to school today. It's so important that that students see themselves reflected on stage, that see people who look like them and sound like them, because otherwise we are saying that their narrative is not as important as the white Anglo narrative, which is what a lot of the other theater revolves around. And so it is key for us to have the students see themselves represented, know that their stories matter, and know that if they want to have a career in the theater, they can. And there are people like them working professionally.
Well, that's quite empowering, because just, imagine just being the child that goes to theater, or, parent, and there's never anyone, like you say, looks like them, talks like them. And I really do think the times are changing in that sense, in society, and you're really at the forefront, with the kinds of plays that you do. So it is just a pleasure to get to interview you.
Thank you so much. This was a wonderful
honor. Thank you so much.
Glad to see you at the theater.
Yes, I'll see you at the theater. Yes, I did meet your daughter that day when you were at the theater, and I heard one thing that you said to her, and maybe it was a joke, where you said, well, I'm trying to convince her not to go into theater, but she loves it. So I don't think you're going to get to change her if she makes that decision. I don't think she's going to do what she wants. So it's great to get to interview you. Thank you so much.
It was a great conversation. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And I want to thank Mita Saxena, our technical director, who's with us when we do every single program. And Mita is also a meditation teacher and student at the Brahma Kumaris Meditation Center. So she really has a way with making people think about their lives and what's important, and what it is that we should be doing in the world to help the world. So thank you, Mita.